Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Scott Melker, crypto trader and investor, host of the Wolf of All Streets podcast and author of the Wolf Den newsletter. Scott, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thank you so much for having me back again.
All right, we're into the second half of 2021, if you can believe that or not. Let's talk about the second quarter as it relates to Bitcoin and the rest of the digital assets, because Bitcoin's second worst quarter in its history. What are your thoughts going ahead here, Scott?
I'm still very bullish on Bitcoin, and I'm a big fan of zooming out to get a good perspective. It's very easy to get caught in the nuance and look at the price action as it happens day to day. But the reality is that just last year, Bitcoin was trading under $4,000. Just this time last year, it was trading at a fourth of the price of where it is now. And if you eliminate the whole move up to 65,000 and back to the 30,000, you'd be really excited to say a year ago that Bitcoin is now trading in the 30,000. So I don't think that the trajectory has changed much. And I still think that the bullish case and narrative is very much intact. We've just had a shakeout of weak hands, as tends to happen in situations like this. And I think that we're now waiting again for that big catalyst, that big news story, that big institution to come in, adopt Bitcoin and send prices up.
Scott, why do you think we've seen the divergence with Bitcoin and Ethereum, with the latter performing better?
Listen, as much of a humongous fan of Bitcoin as I am, I've always also been a fan of Ethereum and have been saying for quite a long time that I think that as a trader, it's probably the better trade and has more upside at this point. Ethereum is an incredible technology. It's a platform. There's a lot of news coming, fundamental events. It'll become more deflationary. They'll be moving to Ethereum 2.0. So I think it's just more upside and a lot of people building on Ethereum. But also just as a trader, if you're talking about what's happened over the last few weeks, technically, when Bitcoin starts to range sideways, we generally see other coins have their moment to shine. A lot of them drop disproportionately when Bitcoin goes down, so they get these relief moves back up as Bitcoin sort of trades sideways. And I think that that's what we're seeing, Ethereum sort of leading the altcoin market up from the lows.
Scott, I'm glad you brought up trading, because time frame is really important in this. Investing for the long term, there will be some pain up and down, and that's not unusual for any of the other more mature asset classes. I mean, if you understand the ranges and you trade this frequently, you can still do well in your trading accounts.
Yeah, you absolutely can. Now, I've been generally staying away from it, but Bitcoin longing support near 30,000 and shorting anything above 40 has been the easiest trade in the world for the last 2 months. Of course, that's always easy to say in hindsight, but it is basically ranging between those two levels, and everything else in the middle is somewhat noise.
Scott, and you've written about this, you've spoken about it on social media, you've done podcasts around this, saying that Bitcoin is the last of the free markets. What do you mean by that?
I think it's the only free market in the world. It's funny because people always talk about Bitcoin and crypto being manipulated. It's quite the opposite. Manipulation is the Fed printing money to artificially inflate the stock market, make sure that stocks only go up, as they like to say, buying bonds, buying equities, doing all of those things. That's a central bank and a centralized authority stepping in. Now, what do we have in Bitcoin? We just had a drop from 65,000 to under 30,000 in a matter of months. We didn't need a centralized authority to step in and buy anything. We didn't need anyone to manipulate or buoy the market. It just continued operating as a free market. Yes, there are huge players that can push price down, but for every one of their huge sell orders, there's a whole lot of buyers that are stepping in on the books and taking those bids. So it truly is a free market. There's no decentralized authority. Even to take that a step further, we just saw China effectively ban Bitcoin mining. And what have we seen? 60% of the hash rate going offline and it being accommodated elsewhere in the network and nothing going wrong. The network is still secure. Everything is still running for Bitcoin. It doesn't need any help. It doesn't need any centralized authority to keep operating.
That is an excellent point, Scott. Great to catch up with you as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.